Last gen or not, Payday 2 is a demanding shooter with a lot of dynamics in place. It's hard to expect a perfectly fluid 30 FPS all the time, but for it to broach an acceptable level of quality, it needs to be much tighter than it is now.
Hello YouTube, it's your host Raven Rose and you are now watching Dual Edge. And if you're new here, like and subscribe. Now Payday has just been released on the Nintendo Switch, and for all my fans of mature rated shooters, I'm sure this is a momentous occasion. But apparently the Nintendo Switch isn't running up to par with the other console versions. Now, being that there is quite a technical gap between the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch, you would expect there to be some technical differences somewhere along the line. And with other multi-platform releases like Doom, Skyrim and Dragon Ball Xenoverse running very well and almost on par with their PlayStation 4 counterparts, is it really acceptable to have ports like Payday and to be expected to pay full price for it?
The gameplay speed is directly tied to the frame rate. So for example, if the game drops to 20 FPS, all the action suddenly plays out at 66% speed, making it feel almost like moving through treacle until it settles back at 30 again. Given how often the frame rate is shifting like this, that makes even simple acts like aiming needlessly difficult.
Now, I do want to start off and say I do want to cut the developers just a little bit of slack, as they're not a big AAA developer like EA or Activision. Hey, they're not even Capcom. But this is a relatively old game. I mean, it was running on a 360, and it seems like all they should have to do to get it running on the Switch properly is just better optimize it. I mean, the fact that they haven't got a version of an old game that was on a 360 running properly on the Switch with, you know, just a little bit more technical overhead is just a little bit suspect to me. Just a little bit suspect. Mamma mia! I mean, the fact that this version of the game launched with less content than the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One version kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But I can look past it, as there is still a lot of content in the game. But when you couple that with performance issues and a relatively high price for an old game, this does kind of reek of a cash grab.
In Payday 2's case, the numbers are entirely fixed, even in the most demanding areas. And arguably, adding a dynamic resolution there could help prevent it running into a GPU bottleneck. What we've got instead are results veering much closer to 20 FPS, and unlike so many of its shortcomings, it's one that playing on a small screen doesn't hide well in this case. Overall, Payday 2 is a great concept, but the execution is much better on PS4 if you're looking for the couch experience. Otherwise, if you're after the best shooter on a portable system, you're maybe best served looking at something like Doom instead.
Now, obviously, I don't think we should be holding the Nintendo Switch and its software to the performance levels of the PlayStation 4. That would just be stupid. But we've seen developers go in and use special techniques, whether it's dynamic resolution or just improving character animations or just removing certain features from graphics or reshaping the game in certain areas to bring out better performance from the machine. And with this being a very old game that ran quite well on last generation hardware, this is almost a little bit too much to accept. Now, the game is probably still fun in some places, and I'm not slamming Payday 2 overall. The developers seem like cool people, and as I said, they're not a big budget AAA development studio. But that being said, we still have people like Panic Button who are putting their pedal to the metal and their foot in the collective IS of this hardware and making miracles. I mean, the updated patch that they just released for Doom, which was just awesome. Not only did it add motion controls, but it also improved the overall performance. So it hits 720p on dot, or is it portable? I forgot. But it just hits that more often, and that's just something that's great. And this game doesn't even hit 1080p in docked mode. Woo! You've got a lot of explaining to do, especially when there's a port of Wolfenstein on the way. You know? So yes, people, let me know what you think about this. Obviously, it's not something to complain over or go too crazy. This is just one developer and stuff. This isn't to do with the Switch's hardware or anything. But let me know what you think. Do you think this is a bad port? And do you think this game is worth picking up at the price it's at the moment? Oh yes, just quickly before fanboys start saying, but you can play it portable.
I'll also say the state of the portable game is worse overall than docked play, and despite dropping the pixel count to 720p, many areas which previously ran at 30fps will now run closer to 20fps.
But yes, Nintendo gamers, let me know what you think about Payday. Is it worth spending your hard-earned money on? Did they do justice to you and the mightiness of the Switch? Okay, see you guys later.